This unauthorized livestock and the unapproved fencing are in direct violation of ordinances 3B and 12C. You have exactly...
I told you to stay away from here. You don't belong here anymore.
I have every right to be here. You can't just push me out.
Get out! No.
The day I bought 200 acres for $2,000, people laughed. Not polite laughter either, more like the kind that carries disbelief, envy, and a hint of mockery. They said land like that didn't exist anymore. They said if it did, there had to be something wrong with it. What they didn't know was that sometimes the cheapest land comes with the most expensive secrets, and sometimes the man who buys it isn't the kind you should underestimate. I still remember the smell of dry brass and dust when I first stood there. The sun was sinking behind the mountain range, painting the sky in deep oranges and bruised purples. I leaned against my truck, hat pulled low, silver stubble catching the light. 200 acres stretched out before me, rolling hills, old fence lines, patches of wild trees that had never known a saw. It felt like freedom, real freedom, the kind you can't put a price on, even if I technically paid less than the cost of a used motorcycle. I didn't buy it because it was cheap. I bought it because it was mine. That's something people like me care about more than anything else. Ownership, control, the quiet satisfaction of knowing that when you wake up in the morning, no one can tell you what to do on your own land. Or at least, that's what I believed back then. The first week passed peacefully. I camped out there, built a small fire, walked the boundaries with old survey maps in my hands. The land had history. You could feel it in the soil, in the way the wind moved through the grass. There were signs of old structures long gone, maybe from a failed ranch or a forgotten homestead. Nothing unusual, nothing illegal, just land that time had ignored. Then came the truck. It rolled in one afternoon, shiny and out of place, kicking up dust like it owned the road. A white SUV with tinted windows, spotless tires, and an attitude you could feel before the engine even shut off. I watched from a distance, leaning against a fence post, arms crossed. The door opened, and out stepped her, HOA Officer Karen. She looked like she'd been carved out of authority itself. Sharp, blonde bob haircut that didn't move even in the wind. Cold, commanding eyes that scanned the land like she was inspecting a crime scene. Her posture was rigid, rehearsed, like she practiced standing in front of mirrors. The power-red pantsuit was immaculate, paired with a crisp white shirt that screamed control. She didn't belong there, and she knew it. She walked toward me without hesitation, heels sinking into dirt she clearly despised. "Are you the owner of this property?" she asked, voice clipped, professional, already annoyed. I smiled, slow and calm. "That depends who's asking." Her eyes narrowed. "I'm an officer of the Ridgeview Estates Homeowners Association, and yes, I need to speak with the owner." I tipped my hat just slightly. "Then you're talking to him." That was the moment her expression changed. Not shock, more like irritation, as if reality had inconvenienced her. "Well," she said, pulling out a clipboard, "we've been informed that you've recently purchased this property. I'm here to inform you that you are in violation of several HOA regulations." I laughed, not loud, just a short breath of disbelief. "HOA regulations? On this land?" "Yes," she replied, as if explaining gravity to a child. "This property falls under the extended jurisdiction of Ridgeview Estates." I looked around at the empty hills, the miles of nothing. Funny, I didn't see any gates or houses or signs. "That's irrelevant," she snapped. "What matters is compliance." That word hung in the air like a threat. She went on, listing things. No unauthorized camping, no fires without approval, no livestock, no construction, no alterations to the land. And then she said the thing that made my smile fade. "Failure to comply will result in daily fines starting at $500 per violation." $500 a day on land I bought outright. I felt something shift inside me then. Not anger, not fear. Something colder, something patient. I took the clipboard from her hands, scanned it carefully. The language was vague, aggressive, written to intimidate. Classic HOA nonsense. But there was something else. A name. A family name. The same one repeated over and over in the documents. The family living there. I handed the clipboard back. "Who exactly lives out here?" I asked. She hesitated, just for a second. "That's not your concern." "It is if they're claiming authority over my land." Her lips tightened. "The Whittemore family has maintained this property for years." "Maintained?" I repeated, "or occupied?" She didn't answer. That night, I didn't sleep much. I sat by the fire, staring into the flames, thinking about the price I paid, about the way she spoke, about the fact that no one had mentioned an HOA when I signed the papers. I'd done my homework, or so I thought. The next morning, I drove into town. Old records office, dusty shelves, a clerk who'd seen too much and cared too little. I spent hours digging, deeds, transfers, old zoning maps, and that's when I found it. The land was never legally incorporated into Ridgeview Estates. Not once, never ever. The HOA had tried years ago, filed paperwork, then abandoned it when the costs got too high. Except someone never told the Whittemores. Or maybe they knew. The family had been living on a corner of the land, not owning it, just using it. And somewhere along the way, they decided to act like they did, collecting fees, issuing fines, playing government on land that wasn't theirs. And now they'd made the mistake of trying it on me. The second visit came quicker. This time, Karen wasn't alone. She brought a man, mid-40s, smug smile, polo shirt with the HOA logo, blue blood energy, the kind that believes rules exist only to protect people like him. "This is private property," he said as soon as he stepped out. "You're trespassing." I laughed again. "You're standing on my land." Karen stepped forward. "Sir, this is your final warning. Continued non-compliance will result in immediate fines." I pulled out my folder, copies of deeds, maps, records. I laid them out on the hood of my truck. "You see this?" I said calmly. "This land was never under your HOA. You have no jurisdiction here. None." The man's smile faltered. Karen's eyes flicked over the papers, fast, too fast. "These documents can be contested," she said. "Everything can. Doesn't mean you're right." That's when I noticed it. The fear. Buried, deep, but there. They weren't used to resistance. They were used to people folding. I decided then not to involve the authorities. Not yet. This was personal. Over the next few weeks, I did everything by the book. I built a fence on my boundary. I put up signs. I brought in livestock. I lit fires. Every single thing they claimed I couldn't do, I did legally, visibly, unmistakably. The fines started coming. Letters, threats, numbers stacking up, tens of thousands of dollars they said I owed. I kept them all. Then I invited them out one last time. Karen arrived furious. The family stood behind her, pale, nervous. I could smell desperation. "I'm giving you one chance. Pay the fines, leave the property." I looked at them all, one by one. Then I smiled. "You've been collecting money on land you don't own, threatening people, enforcing rules that don't apply. That's fraud." Silence. "I bought this land cheap, but you're about to pay full price." I didn't call the authorities. I didn't need to. I filed civil claims, sued for damages, for harassment, for illegal occupancy, for every dollar they'd ever taken from anyone out there. The family folded first, moved out quietly. Karen disappeared not long after. The HOA dissolved under the weight of its own lies. Now, when I stand on my land at sunset, hat low, mountains glowing behind me, I think about that first laugh, about how people assume cheap means weak. 200 acres, $2,000, and the most expensive lesson an HOA family ever learned.
The funny thing about silence is how loud it becomes after people like that leave. For a few weeks after the Whitmores packed up and Karen vanished, the land felt different. Not quieter, freer. The wind moved the grass without interruption. The nights stretched wide and honest. I thought it was over. I was wrong. Because people with blue blood don't accept loss easily. They just change tactics. One evening, as the sun bled into the mountains and painted my shadow long across the dirt, I noticed something new. Fresh tire tracks. Not mine. Too clean, too intentional. Someone had been there while I was gone. I followed the tracks to the far western edge of the property. That's when I saw it. A survey stake, bright orange, brand new, pounded into my soil like a flag of quiet war. I crouched down, pulled it out, and felt my jaw tighten. Survey stakes mean plans. Plans mean money. And money means someone still thought they could take what was mine. The next morning, a letter arrived. Not a fine this time, something worse. A notice of intent to reclaim community land. No signature, just a letterhead from Ridgeview Estates, an HOA that technically no longer existed. I smiled. They were desperate now. I didn't rush. That's the mistake most people make. They panic, they react. I waited. I let them believe the land was empty, that I was just a stubborn man with a hat and a campfire. Meanwhile, I dug deeper. Old financial records surfaced, shell accounts tied to the Whitmore name, HOA funds rerouted into private holdings. Karen's name appeared again, consulting fees, enforcement compensation, bonuses paid out of money collected from landowners who never should have been paying anything. It was all there, years of quiet theft wrapped in paperwork and confidence. Then the construction crew showed up. 3 trucks, heavy equipment, no permits posted. They started unloading near the old boundary line, acting like they owned the place. I watched from a distance, heart steady, hands calm. I walked up slow. "Gentlemen," I said, voice even, "you're on private property." One of them laughed. "HOA cleared it." I nodded. "They don't exist anymore." That stopped them. I handed over copies of the deed, maps, legal descriptions, so clear a child could understand them. The foreman swallowed hard. "We were told." I know, they told a lot of lies. The crew packed up within an hour. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "You think you've won," Karen said. Same cold voice, but now there was strain underneath it, cracks. "I don't think, I know," I replied. "You don't understand who you're dealing with." I looked out at the land, moonlight washing over 200 acres of truth. "Neither did you." She hung up. The next move was predictable. Smear campaigns, rumors in town, whispers that I was squatting, that the land was cursed, that anyone doing business with me would regret it. I let 'em talk. Instead, I did something smarter. I invited people in. Hunters, ranchers, surveyors, investors. I showed 'em the paperwork, let 'em walk the land, let 'em see the truth with their own eyes. And the rumors died where they always do, under daylight. That's when the final letter came, a settlement offer. They wanted me to sell, quietly, cheaply, make it all go away. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. I wrote back one sentence, "Not for sale." After that, everything collapsed fast. Bank accounts frozen, internal lawsuits. Karen tried to disappear again, but paper trails don't forget, neither do men like me. I didn't need revenge fueled by anger. I let patience do the work. I let their own greed turn inward, eat itself alive. Now the land is officially, unquestionably mine. No shadows, no fake authority, no threats. Sometimes I ride the perimeter at sunset, dust rising under my boots, Stetson low, leather vest creaking with movement. I think about how close they came to believing they were untouchable. 200 acres for $2,000. They thought I was the cheapest thing involved. Turns out I was the most expensive mistake they ever made. And the land? It finally rests.
The last time I saw Karen, she didn't arrive in a spotless SUV. She arrived alone. No entourage, no clipboard, no red power suit. Just a dusty sedan pulled to the edge of the property as the sun dipped low, turning the mountains behind me into silhouettes of fire and shadow. I was repairing a fence line, hands rough with wire and sweat, when I felt that familiar sensation. Someone watching from a distance, unsure whether they still had the right. She stepped out slowly. The sharp blonde bob was still there, but it looked tired now. Her posture wasn't rigid anymore. The authority she once wore like armor hung loose, cracked. The white shirt was gone. No colors of power, just neutral tones, like someone trying not to be seen. I didn't walk toward her. I made her walk to me. Every step across that land was a reminder of what she'd lost. "I won't take much of your time," she said when she was close enough. Her voice still tried to sound controlled, but it trembled at the edges. "You already took enough," I replied, not looking at her, just tightening the last knot on the fence. Silence stretched, the kind that presses on your chest. "They're coming after me," she finally said. "The Whitmores, former board members, people who used to call me untouchable." I turned then, looked her straight in the eyes, those cold, commanding eyes that once looked at me like dirt, now avoided my gaze. "And you thought I'd help," I said. She swallowed. "You started this." I smiled, slow and thin. "No, you did. I just finished it." She tried to explain about pressure, about expectations, about how she was told the land was theirs, that enforcement was her job, that everyone benefited. The words spilled out fast, desperate, like if she spoke long enough the past might rearrange itself. I let her talk, because there's a special kind of justice in letting someone hear how small their excuses sound in open air. When she finished, she waited, maybe for forgiveness, maybe for mercy. What she got was truth. "I didn't need your apology," I said quietly. "I don't need your story, and I don't need revenge anymore." Her shoulders sagged in relief. Then I delivered the part she didn't expect. "But I will never protect you from what you set in motion." Her face went pale. "The people you helped steal from," I said, "they found me. I gave them records, names, dates, amounts, every dollar you touched." Her knees almost buckled. "You wanted control, now you get consequences." She left without another word. After that, things ended quietly. No explosions, no headlines, just a series of final notices, foreclosures, settlements that drained accounts built on intimidation. Ridgeview Estates became a cautionary tale whispered in town. The Whitmore names stopped opening doors. Karen's vanished completely this time. Not as an officer, not as a threat, just another person learning too late that power borrowed from lies always comes due. And me? I stayed. I built slowly, honestly. A small ranch house first, then barns. Fences that followed real boundaries, not imaginary ones. People came through the land now with respect. Neighbors, workers, friends. No fear, no fake rules. Some evenings, I stand where it all began. Sunset spilling gold across 200 acres that cost me $2,000 and nearly cost them everything. The wind runs through the grass like it remembers what happened here. People still ask me how I pulled it off. How I beat an HOA without calling the authorities, how I outlasted threats, fines, pressure. I always give the same answer. I owned the truth before I owned the land. And that's the thing they never understood. You can wear power-red suits, you can print fines, you can scare weak men. But when you threaten the wrong man on land he legally, patiently, and completely owns, you don't just lose the fight. You lose the ground beneath your feet.